first news that's not transfer related. Everything else is.
All right, sir. What do you got? Stadium.
News leaking out. More and more, we're hearing a lot of stories about Old Trafford, and it seems that they are preferred. They're not going to do a refresh. They're going full rebuild like we had hoped for a couple months ago when this first came out. So 100,000-seater stadium is envisioned. They're calling it a $2 billion project. Same crew that did Yankee Stadium, that did the new Tottenham Spurs Stadium. So it's like the best, basically, engineering architect company you can get, which I believe, I can't remember the name at the moment. So they're involved in it. A lot of things have also we learned Old Trafford is going to be like scaled down, not destroyed, scaled down for like a 20,000-foot stadium and be used for the academy players and the women. So they're going to try and preserve as much of Old Trafford itself while building a new stadium, which I don't know what they're going to call, something corporate, I would imagine. But they're doing it the right way. So 100,000-seat stadium is what I'm talking about. We should have one of the biggest stadiums in Europe. I know we can fill it. The full rebuild is an exciting one. Keeping Old Trafford, I think, is a very smart move. And I hope the one thing I do hope is on the new one, I hope they don't make it too modern. I hope they try and like harken to some nostalgia in some way. Yankee Stadium did that.
It's going to be modern. It's going to be modern.
I know it, but not too modern. There's modern, and then there's like space.
You're concerned about the new? Like they're going to get it right.
I know they will.
Look, certain things you don't worry about. You say they got it. $2 billion, they got it. They'll figure it out.
It's like a lot of money.
$2 billion. They're going to redevelop the waterfront. They're going to keep Old Trafford as a smaller stadium for the youth, maybe to be used for other events, etc. But they're going to create more of just like a property, right? If you ever seen what the Dallas Cowboys have done, they have like their big stadium. They also have their training facility, and it's all kind of in a campus. And I feel we're going for that campus vibe where you have the historical Old Trafford, and then you have like the new Old Trafford, or it's going to be Maui Gym Stadium, the 100,000 seater, and then hopefully they get the additional funding to redevelop the waterfront and make more of United's history. Obviously, there's the famous tunnel you can walk through at the stadium right now, but it's just there's so much more to Manchester United's history, and there's so many people coming to visit it around the world that it doesn't really sort of like whet your beak as far as the tourism element that they could benefit from. I know locals don't necessarily like that, or they don't want to cater to that population, but you go to Old Trafford on match day, you have a lot of locals, and you have a lot of people coming from around the world for the first time, or maybe they're season ticket holders like us. But I do think that there's just so much they can do there, and I'm very excited to hear about this plan. The 100,000-seat stadium, great. That just means our seats get better, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
If we're a certain level and we got 70,000, imagine how close we're going to be with 100,000. But there's other things that were exciting where they want to make a red wall, kind of like Dortmund.
Single stand, Stratford End. They're not going to do a double tier. They want to do one giant tier, which is kind of badass.
Which is awesome. I do rate that. Although, now we're like in the second tier and we're like 7 rows from the balcony. I kind of like that better view. And then if you took our same seat in like the wall, it would be worse.
I hate to break it to you. So, that new stadium's not going to be ready for like until our kids are 10.
It's good. But this is exciting.
2030. It's great.
And so what this is speaking to is sort of the lens I'm trying to take and look at this club is like, hey man, the next 10 years, the last 10 years are miserable. The next 10 years are going to be unbelievable if you think of this new stadium coming down the line, what Ineos is going to do with the roster, the creative commercial deals they're going to do to free up cash to invest in this team and invest in this stadium and invest in the area and make Manchester United better on all fronts. Sir, I've been to the Camp Nou experience. It's unbelievable. Like, why can't United have that? We've traveled around to lots of stadiums in the world, the Bernabeu, and it's just Old Trafford is very special. It holds a special place in my heart, but I do think the experience from a world sporting perspective could be better. There are downsides where, you go to Wembley, it's not, I don't rate Wembley that much, and I don't want them to go on that angle. Also, like, you have the Meadowlands in New Jersey for the Giants, and they built the new Meadowlands, and it's not good. And so there is risk here, them building a new stadium. I just believe they're going to do it right. Given the projects the firm has been associated with, I think they're going to do it right. And Ineos doesn't mess around. So I think there's going to be a lot of history woven in there, respect for the old stadium as well. And, going to it on match days, it's not great. When you're in your seat, it's amazing, but the stadium itself, not great.
Yeah, and I remember the name of the architecture firm. It's Populous, so check out their website. They've done some cool work, and like you said, it's an underutilized asset. It's like Manchester United is by far the most famous club in England and one of the most famous sports team in the world, literally bar none. They're in the top 5 globally. So it's like it should be a destination. The stadium has a lot of nostalgia, incredible history. In your seat, it's hard to beat. But at the end of the day, it's like it's underinvested. It should be a whole thing, like you said, a complex. There should be lots of hotels and restaurants everywhere and match day experiences and then the real thing they're gonna do with the next Old Trafford is that they're gonna make it a fucking cash cow, and they're just gonna do all kinds of sporting events, maybe host an NFL game, right? Concerts, big ticket
Exactly,
concerts.
that's what we
They're gonna do
need.
other shit like I can't even think of right now, but that is the way you do it, right? You have a turf field they can come cover with synthetic, and that way you can use it for a lot of different stuff and bring a lot of money in. Because the fact that United and Old Trafford did not get chosen for the 2026 Euros, 28 Euros, is a travesty, and it's because the stadium was left to rot by the Glazers. So
yeah, we're being left behind, and I'm glad Ineos is putting this as sort of the crown jewel in the revamp of Manchester United, and what the stadium will mean to have the 100,000 seater, and then the other. It's just going to be more revenue, which means more money for this club over the long term, which will help us invest in the squad. And continue the tradition that Manchester United will be a force in European football for 50 years to come, right? And that's what I want as a fan. So you might be selling out some tradition, but we're going to be getting a lot of benefit that will continue to be invested in this club and have us perform and win a few Champions Leagues, sir. That's what I'm trying to do here. We're trying to win the Champions League. Need at least